And it was only after I got done watching the last show that I came to a realization. We need E3 back next year. With the world now returning to a state of normalcy after a few years of madness, let's hope that 2023 marks the big return to E3 that we are all hoping for. Well, that comment aged well, didn't it? So yeah, E3 is apparently no longer a thing. I feel like I'm the only person in the world who didn't see this coming. Even with all the issues it had over the last few years and the recent stream of companies declaring that they would not be showing up to it, I naively remained optimistic about the show, basically doing my best Homer Simpson impression and being all, it's still good, it's still good. But no, the most wonderful gaming time of the year is officially gone. It's dead, E3 is dead, Santa is dead, Jesus is dead, the Easter Bunny is dead, and I'm dead. But it's okay because I'm a gamer, so I have 2 extra lives. Okay, melodrama aside, it sucks that E3 is again not going to be around this year, but that doesn't mean that the video games are going to stop coming. So once again, I'll be doing my best to scour the various gaming showcases and looking at which upcoming games I'm most excited about. And since it doesn't make any sense to call it an E3 review anymore, I'm just going to make up my own name for it. Welcome to Game June or something, I don't know. I think you know what the deal is by now, so let's just jump into it. And by jump into it, I mean jump into a few weeks before the main festivities with a look at the PlayStation Showcase that aired in May. Wait, we barely started and already my new title for this thing is a lie.
Hey everybody, this guy's a great big phony!
Just like last year, Sony is getting a head start on the competition, which can always be a risky move. So does it pay off again this year? Sort of. One of the more impressive games I saw from them is Phantom Blade Zero, a fast-paced action game set in an alternative steampunk version of ancient China. And when I say that the action is fast-paced, I mean it. The combat looks so silky smooth, traversal is incredibly fluid, and we may be in for some excitingly creative action pieces, all while keeping a level of detail that's unbelievably impressive. No predicted release date yet, but definitely one to keep your eye out for. As a bit of a change of pace, the plucky squire is more than just your average action-adventure game. As Jot, the titular squire, you'll venture for the land of Mojo, protecting it from the forces of the villainous Humgrump. But the story takes a surprising twist as the characters literally leap off the page to explore the three-dimensional world of your desk. An ambitiously creative project that looks to blend both 2D and 3D gameplay styles in a way that has never been seen before. For the most part anyway. Still, Impor Zelda could do it. That doesn't count. Okay, so when you initially look at Foam Stars, you can be forgiven for thinking that this is just Sony's attempt at creating their own version of Nintendo's Splatoon series. In its defense though, there's a bit more to it than that. The foam you create is actually solid enough to stand on, almost terraforming the arena you're in. You can climb it, ride on it, or create all sorts of crazy structures, throw in a bunch of uniquely wild powers, and this could be a decently fun multiplayer. But seriously, come on guys, saying that Foam Stars ripped off Splatoon is like saying that Panda Warrior is a ripoff of Kung Fu Panda. Oh, hang on. There we go, totally different. Other games that were on show today include the gorgeous looking Sword of the Sea, the latest title from the creators of Journey. Towers of Agaspar, an ecosystem restoring open world game with more than a passing resemblance to Avatar, it has to be said. Ultros, a psychedelic Metroidvania game with a beautifully coloured world that I want to say may have been influenced by Hindu culture. Final Fantasy XVI, which by the time this video comes out, people will no doubt already be knee deep into. A host of VR titles including Resident Evil 4 Remake, Arizona Sunshine 2, Crossfire Sierra Squad, and the trippy as hell Synapse, and Marathon, the first game by Bungie since they were acquired by Sony and a reboot of one of their oldest franchises. By the way, did you know that Bungie made Oni, and it came out the same year as the first Halo game? Imagine if that got remastered, that would be wild. But there were 2 major talking points on everybody's lips after the showcase had ended. And no, neither of them were about the live-action Gran Turismo movie. The first was a simple trailer that starts by following a colony of ants. Okay, is this something to do with Grounded maybe? Then we see a dead frog that's quickly picked up by a parrot. A very familiar looking parrot. Then as we watch this parrot feed on a tree frog, it's suddenly attacked by a giant anaconda, which itself is then attacked by a crocodile. This all seems so familiar, yet I can't quite put my finger on it. Wait a minute, who's that looking in the shadows? No, it can't be. Snake? Snake? Snake! Hey, I haven't seen you in ages, how have you been? That's right, the rumors were true. This is the reveal of the long-anticipated remake of Metal Gear Solid 3. That's a funny way of spelling free. Yes, I know it's the Greek letter for Delta, but who cares? Snake is getting a remake, y'all! And the classic games are coming to PS5 as well? Why, Konami, you really are trying to get back into our good graces, aren't you? Just one question, by the way. Where's the release date for the Suikoden remasters? Okay, well, at least that's something. The other big talking point was a massive 12-minute preview of Marvel's Spider-Man 2, which Insomniac has been strangely quiet on for some time now, and we can see why. Along with the reveal that classic villains Kraven the Hunter and the Lizard will be part of the action, we got to see an extensive look at some of the core gameplay mechanics. Players will be able to switch between the two Spider-Men, and along with the familiar web slinging, stealth and combat systems, each character has their own unique abilities and playstyles. Peter is now rocking his symbiote outfit, and uses it to battle in a much more aggressive manner than we're used to from him. Meanwhile, Miles battles in a more traditional way, utilizing gadgets and electric strike abilities. We were also treated to a couple of fun set pieces, including a chase involving Kraven's cronies, and a water ski section with Miles being pursued by the Lizard. With the promise of Venom also showing up somewhere, it looks like this game has been more than worth the wait. This has been a decent showing by Sony, a nice mix of games and a few good surprises, all capped off with a big showcase by Insomniac and old Webhead, and new Webhead. If I did have one complaint, there may have been one too many non-gameplay trailers for my liking. It's hard to know how excited to be for a game when all you get is a teaser and actual gameplay might be years off. Then again, I did lose my mind over that Snake Eater trailer, so what do I know? There was also a lot of number 2s in this showcase. No, not like that. I mean as in there were a lot of sequels. Spider-Man 2, Helldivers 2, Ghost Runner 2, Talos Principle 2, Alan Wake 2, Dragon's Dogma 2, Arizona Sunshine 2, and Destiny 2. No, not you, get the hell out of here! Next we're looking at Summer Game Fest, and what do you know, this time they're on an actual stage in front of a live audience. I honestly didn't think we would get that this year. Jeff Keighley is our compere once again, and he is really in his element here. It's so great to have a host that is genuinely enthusiastic about bringing out great games and talking to the people who made them. People like Ed Boon, one of the creators of the Mortal Kombat series, who's here to talk about the latest game in the franchise, Mortal Kombat 1. It'll make sense in a minute. After the events of Mortal Kombat 11, the series has been rebooted into a new timeline, where among the various changes, Raiden is now immortal and Liu Kang is a god. We're shown a limited selection of playable characters, along with cameo fighters who can provide assistance in battles, an in-depth look at some gameplay with a battle between Sub-Zero and Kenshi, and of course the insanely brutal fatalities that I can't show you here because then YouTube will kick up a fuss. If you want to see him that badly, go find the actual trailer somewhere online. Also, according to Ed, Jean-Claude Van Damme will be playing Johnny Cage in the new game, and if you know the history of Mortal Kombat, you know that this is a pretty great full circle moment for the franchise. Another person Jeff got to speak to is Sam Lake, creative director for Remedy Entertainment and face model for Max Payne. He was here to talk about their latest game, Alan Wake 2, the long-awaited sequel to the first title released way back in 2010. Through raw gameplay footage, we follow Saga, one of the two playable characters, as she explores an abandoned building and encounters her first supernatural experience. Gameplay seems to follow similarly to that of the first game, a third-person over-the-shoulder viewpoint, bizarre and disturbing items and clues to discover, and supernatural forces that you need to make solid with your flashlight before you can defeat them. I think. I've never actually played the first game, but according to Mr. Lake, I don't have to worry about that. It's been a long time coming, but for those who have waited, the story can finally continue. This is Dan Barnett. You may remember him from such roles as Paxton in Never Have I Ever, and Matty in the upcoming Gran Turismo movie. Also Sagi Yojimbo apparently? Go figure. But today he's here to talk about his role as Jack, the lead character in the upcoming game Immortals of Avium, which can best be described as a first-person magic shooter. Except for that the gameplay shown sees Jack battling invading enemy forces whilst on top of a giant mech that is crossing the ocean. Not only does it look incredible, but it feels epic, and the way the player can perform various forms of magic to fight enemies and traverse platforms looks like a lot of fun. I only hope that the actual game can live up to the hype that the trailers are bringing. If it doesn't, that will leave me in a bad... Elsewhere amongst the wild cavalcade of exciting games was a brand new Sonic game. Sonic Superstars brings classic 2D Sonic gameplay to the third dimension. Play as Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, and Amy and discover a whole new host of vibrant and exhilarating zones, master new powers and abilities, and play with up to 4 players simultaneously. Lies of P is a Soulsborne-like game inspired by the story of Pinocchio. As Pinocchio, you'll explore the decrepit city of Krat. encounter and battle various biomechanical enemies, and do everything you can to survive the calamity that has befallen on the city as you search for your missing creator, Geppetto. So Back 4 Blood didn't exactly work, and Redfall really didn't work. Why don't we try something from the guy who made They Live? John Carpenter's Toxic Commando seems to be the latest game trying to fill the void left by the Left 4 Dead franchise. With some pretty tasty looking graphics and gameplay, Bon Jovi blaring out over the speakers, and one of the most prolific horror film directors behind it, will this be the co-op zombie shooter that fans have been waiting for? Well, it looks promising, but we won't hold our breaths just yet. The world of Final Fantasy made an impact at the Summer Game Fest with the mobile game Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis, an episodic RPG looking to retell the events of the classic 1997 game and its related tie-in media. And speaking of Final Fantasy, DoorDash. No, I'm not being sponsored by them, but Jeff literally trolls everybody by doing a DoorDash ad immediately after the Ever Crisis trailer. Ah, Jeff, you cheeky little scamp, we like to have fun. No, seriously though, they did actually announce that Final Fantasy VII Rebirth was coming to PS5 next year. On 2 discs? Wow, we really have gone back in time. In other areas of the show, we got a release date for Spider-Man 2, another look at Palworld, the Pokemon with Guns game, Sandland, a game based on the works of legendary manga artist Akira Toriyama, Street Fighter 6 crossing over with Exoprimal, Fortnite crossing over with Transformers, and Dead by Daylight crossing over with Nicolas Cage, the latter of which actually came out on stage to discuss his appearance in the game. And to hear his excitement about entering a new medium of entertainment and going on a brand new adventure, it's just so heartwarming. Move over, Keanu, I think we might have a new favourite celebrity appearance at a gaming show. Oh, this was such a good show. Live stage presentations have been sorely missed. There's a certain level of electricity in the air when you've got an actual live audience eagerly waiting for the next big reveal. Plus, Jeff was just a shining beacon of joy that made sitting through a near 2-hour show feel like a breeze. You just can't contain that level of enthusiasm inside a closed-off studio with no one around to share it. If I did have to nitpick a little, I'd say that the interview of the guy from Marvel Snap was not particularly enjoyable. He was a little too over the top and came across as a bit arrogant, though in fairness that was probably just a bad acting choice. And all his appearance resulted in was just a cut to a ProZD sketch. I mean, I like ProZD, but nothing about the game? Really? Kind of waste the time you being there. Also, you announce a collector's edition Xbox console to celebrate Porsche's 75th anniversary, and you don't have a car on stage? Forget it, this was a terrible show. Tisk tisk, Jeff, do better next time. Something new this year that I just had to check out was the first annual Accessibility Summer Showcase, a unique presentation created as a way of highlighting some recently released and upcoming games made by disabled game developers, with a specific look at what designs and settings have been included to allow more people the ability to play them. It was hosted by Laura K. Tadeo and was broadcast through her YouTube channel Laura K. Buzz, with versions also available in American and British Sign Languages as well as English audio descriptions. As someone with autism, I was honestly very curious to see just how well some games cater to those with varying disabilities, as well as how important it was for those people to be able to enjoy said games, and I found what I learned to be rather fascinating. Like in the case of Mythwrecked, which sees you take on the role of Alex, a rookie backpacker who finds himself stranded on Ambrosia Island, where the gods of Greek mythology reside. You'll need to talk to and befriend the gods in order to help restore their memories and discover the mysteries of the island. Since the game mostly involves reading a lot of text, naturally it's important for the player to be able to read said text. As such, a few quality of life features have been added, including options for font choices, light or dark mode text bubbles, static or scrolling text, and the option to skip text with a button prompt or have it done automatically. There's even captions for ambient and environmental sounds too, so you can enjoy the immersion with or without sound. That's pretty great. Upheaval is an open-world, text-based fantasy adventure game where you'll travel around your quaint little village, exploring the wilderness, discovering magical treasures and clues, and interacting with the various factions and townsfolk, all in the aid of preparing for the arrival of the enigmatic magician in just 30 days. The game is turn-based, allowing you plenty of time to plan out your next move, and you can even turn off the in-game timer should you wish to explore the game at your own pace. Keyboard, mouse, and touchscreen control options are available, and there's even support for screen readers allowing players with visual impairment to play them. Man, it is so good to hear that even blind people can enjoy video games. Brock the Investigator is a narrative-driven adventure game that uniquely combines beat-em-up action with point-and-click puzzle solving. As Brock, it's up to you to use your wits and your fists to uncover the truth behind recent events and how it connects to the death of your wife 5 years prior. The game features a wide variety of accessibility features, including text-to-speech functions, audio descriptions and vibration on contact with walls, puzzles that can be adapted for blind players, and even the option to skip puzzles and fights entirely. Wait, you can skip the fights? Wow. Could you do that for Dark Souls and Elden Ring perhaps? I suck at those games. Solid State is a bold and eye-catching visual novel game about a gifted young hacker named Chloe who fights a corrupt government in the name of her friends and her city. The choices you make will alter her relationship with her friends and community, as well as how much freedom and human rights will be granted to them in the end. The game features a wide variety of toggle features that can be accessed at any time, a history log to keep track of what was said in each scene, color highlights to show which character is speaking at any time, no flashing lights and no time limit for choices, which is good considering that the game has 38 different endings, so you can take your time in deciding which path is the one you want to follow. Blink and the Vacuum of Space is a VR game set on board the space station Norpopolis, where mischievous creatures called Groobs have escaped after a lab accident. Using the Vacuumizer 5000, it's up to you to help Blink recapture every last one of them before the boss finds out. The game was designed from the ground up specifically with autistic players in mind. There's no fail states or stressful time limits. Challenges can be skipped, repeated, or completed at the player's own speed, and there's even a failsafe button in the smartwatch so players can leave the game safely if they become overstimulated. It can be very difficult to get into VR gaming, especially for those who have autism, so it's really great to hear about developers who are doing their best to support them. I feel like I've really learned a lot about the importance of accessibility from watching this showcase. Whilst a lot of AAA titles may still be missing tiny quality of life features like being able to pause a game during a cutscene, here are a bunch of developers who are working hard to make games accessible to as many people as they can. It really helped to open my eyes on just how important these features can be, from color blindness modes, audio cues and button mapping, to the stuff I never really considered, like font sizes and contrast, and even the various sliders allowing you to enjoy the game exactly the way you want it. Hearing the accounts from the developers and gamers with varying disabilities on why gaming is important to them was also really intriguing, from how simplified controls allowed them to enjoy their favourite pastime, to how gaming's allowed them to be more social and develop long-lasting friendships, or just how playing their favourite games let them temporarily forget about their illnesses. I'm really glad that a show like this exists, and I hope that it does become an annual tradition. I can't wait to see what's in store for next year. We're going to stay on the calmer side of things for a bit with a look at this year's Wholesome Direct, a collection of some of the more chill and unique games created by independent developers. This has become a firm favourite of mine over the years because of how wonderfully relaxing and creative these games can be. Oh and hey, they got Gab Smolder's co-hosting this year. Jack must be so proud. As usual, there's just so many of these to go through, so here's just a small sampling of what was shown this year. Bubblegum Galaxy is a cozy narrative building game about building planets and restoring the galaxy. Place a wide variety of tiles to score points and complete objectives based on each planet's special quirks and rules. Get to know your co-workers, encounter hundreds of unique story events, and find the truth behind why the galaxy was deleted in the first place. Karma Zoo is a really fun co-op game for up to 10 players. Each character has their own special abilities that you can use to help your friends out, like creating spiderwebs to reach higher platforms, or singing to create bridges, or spitting on others to make them sticky. Ew. Well, despite that, it still looks great to play. Also, does that anchor have a butt? Ever had half a mind to do something? Well, this guy literally does. Henry Halfhead is about a half-head being named Henry. Use Henry's ability to possess objects and live out a normal life as a half-head. Okay, I really don't have much to say here, but look at this game! How could I not talk about it? Lakeburg Legacies is a matchmaking sim with a twist, as the relationships that you build are vital to your kingdom. The choices you make can alter the personalities of your townsfolk, and by handling the drama and creating the best couples, you'll ensure that your kingdom continues to thrive. In Fields of Mystria, you arrive in the quaint little town in the hopes of building the farm of your dreams. Plant, water and raise your crops, go foraging and gather resources, interact with the townsfolk, find love among the many available candidates, discover magic, explore ancient ruins and caverns, and help restore the town to its former glory. There were actually quite a few farming sim games in this direct, and they're all rather pleasant. This one just stood out to me because of its pixel art style. A tiny sticker tale follows a donkey named Flynn, who is on a journey to reunite with their father. By using your magical sticker book, you can take items for the world around you and turn them into stickers. You can then use those stickers later to solve puzzles, help your friends, and continue your journey. Based on the classic comic strip character, Little Nemo and the Guardians of Slumberland puts you in a titular role as you explore the wondrous worlds within your dreams in this delightfully hand-animated platformer. unlock new abilities by collecting toys, PJs and friends, encounter a colourful cast of characters, and save Slumberland from the threat of the mysterious Oblivion. Don't worry if things get too tough though, as you'll wake back up in your bedroom, so you can take a breather before jumping back into bed and continuing your adventure. Taking inspiration from classic tabletop games, Paladins is a co-op adventure RPG where the aim is not to slay enemies, but to take on a far more daring challenge, entertaining the masses. Up to 4 players, either locally or online, can take on one of 4 distinct classes, encountering charming NPCs, collecting unusual items, and completing missions on their quest to bring joy to the lively world of Gavarak. As ever, there's an incredibly diverse pool of developers that continue to cast a wider net over what subjects could make for an interesting experience. Before watching shows like these, I never would have considered the idea of playing a game where you play a T-Rex running a pizza parlor, create your own sticker business, manage a mobile bookshop, cook exotic cuisine with your family, or be a caterpillar going through an existential crisis. Didn't think I'd be saying that today. I think it's safe to say that the future of gaming will continue to be strong with creative minds like these. And now, a brief cameo. And now back to the video. Speaking of the future, let's head on over to the Future Game Show. Intel presents the Future Game Show Summer Showcase. Yeah, I guess since they've now got their own YouTube channel, they don't need to play second fiddle to the people over at Games Radar. Just like when I moved out of my parents' place. Oh, wait, that never happened. I'm busy, Mom! This year's hosts are the stars of the Marvel Spider-Man games, Yuri Lowenthal and Laura Bailey. And hey, looks like they took up residence at the old Summer Game Fest stage. Either that, or they've been shrunk to the size of an actual spider and placed inside someone's computer based on the size of their Intel processing chip. That's gonna make playing D&D very difficult for Laura, but not impossible. Anyway, on with the games. Steel Seed is a stealth action adventure game set in a dark sci-fi future where alien technology has taken over. As Zoe, you'll explore an underground facility built by the machines in search of her father. Your personal drone, Kobe, will be the key to your survival, scouting the area ahead and marking any hostiles nearby, allowing you to take them out silently, charging with a full-on attack, or hack enemies to make them fight for you. Choose the right approach, and you may just survive this vast and deadly environment. Laika Aged True Blood is a Western-inspired Motorvania set in a post-apocalyptic wasteland. It follows the story of a mother coyote warrior, embarking on a path of vengeance determined to take back what her people lost. The hand-painted characters and backgrounds are hauntingly beautiful, and the vehicular combat looks exciting, featuring a great variety of moves and a ton of hidden surprises, I'm sure. The Bookwalker Thief of Tales sees a young writer with the ability to dive into the worlds of the written page, attempting to steal a number of legendary items including Thor's Hammer and Excalibur. There isn't much to glean from the trailer, and I only bring it up because the main character's head is literally a book. What a novel concept. Does this mean that he's easy to read? At least we know he has a spine. Alright, I'm done with the jokes. Ruffy and the Riverside is a— Be sure to bookmark it on Steam! Okay, now I'm done. Ruffy and the Riverside is a 3D platforming adventure about an excitable young bear with the unique power to swap the properties of any object he chooses. Turn bundles of hay into wooden barrels, waterfalls into climbable vine walls, slap arrows onto platforms to make them move, or use a volcano to create rivers of lava. It's up to Ruffy and his new powers to stop the invasion of the evil cubes and save Riverside from devastation. Prepare for a new spin on the visual novel genre with Stray Gods, the role-playing musical. College dropout Grace has been accused of murdering the muse Calliope, and has only 7 days to prove her innocence to a pantheon of Greek gods. With an incredible cast of talented voice actors, a fully orchestrated soundtrack, and a multi-directional story of love, death, betrayal, and the literal gods, this has the makings of a Broadway-like performance delivered straight to your PC or console. Pacific Drive looks to be taking a very different turn from your average survival game. Instead of crafting armor and weapons for yourself, you'll be scavenging for parts to upgrade and maintain your car as you travel deeper into the mysterious zone. There's no telling what dangers await out on the open road, so be sure to keep your gas tank full and your panels reinforced, as you and your car take on the dangers of this unpredictable hostile environment. The Spirit of the Samurai is a 2D action-adventure game that follows a Japanese samurai, a warrior cat, and a tree spirit working together to survive the onslaught of a terrifying Oni and his army of the dead. The stop-motion animation is what really helps this title to stand out, with inspiration taken from films like Jason and the Argonauts and The Seventh Voyage of Sinbad. Watching the rigid movements of these horrifying-looking creatures is both jaw-dropping and terrifying. I really love it when games like these branch out to try something new and creative. Other titles that caught my attention include Shattered Heaven, a deck-building RPG with procedural dungeons and a branching narrative. Enchanted Portals, which clearly took a lot of inspiration from Cuphead, and I mean that as a compliment. Fretless, a rock and roll RPG that sees you battling a torrent of musical monstrosities. The Last Faith, a combination Souls-like Metroidvania with exquisitely detailed gothic pixel art. A selection of VR titles including Sea Smash VRS, VR Skater, and a teaser for a Wallace & Gromit game. And En Garde, a fantasy adventure game that features plenty of swashbuckling action and brilliantly cartoonish comedy.
This is an ambush, Volador!
There was also a section dedicated to showing off the capabilities of Unreal Engine 5. The showcase mostly consisted of tech demos and rendered backdrops, but my god, some of these scenes were so hyper-realistic you could swear that you were looking at actual live recordings. That's why some people were freaked out over the footage of Unrecorded. You try telling me that doesn't look real. Even though there was a lot of great stuff to look at, I don't think I could give too much high praise for the Future Games show. Both Laura and Yuri did a great job as presenters, but the fact that most of the time we heard them as voiceovers made me think that they could have just stuck to phoning this in over webcams. While the stage was cool and all, Summer Game Fest proved that you really need an audience to make the most out of it. It would even helped out the musical performance at the start of the show. Though I will say that unlike SGF, they did manage to get a car on their stage. Okay, it's a crappy looking CGI one, but still, FGS did what SGF didn't. Oh hey, what do you know, they have the same initials. It was then time for Microsoft and Xbox to show off their lot, and they planned on going big this year. Not only did they have their regular showcase along with an extended one that would delve deeper into some of the games featured, but they also included an over 45-minute presentation for Bethesda's big title Starfield, which is set to finally be released this September. I won't be going into any details on the game here, but it is looking pretty ambitious, so I'm going to keep my fingers crossed hoping that this game doesn't end up Bethesda-ing itself. I'm rooting for you guys. Also, for those of you playing the Xbox World Premiere drinking game, be sure to drink responsibly. Okay, first game up and oh, I'm sorry, I seem to have accidentally put in an episode of the IT Crowd. No, of course not. This is a new trailer for the upcoming Fable reboot, and here is Richard Ayoade delivering one of his trademark hilarious monologues. Also, he's a giant and a boss apparently? Xbox showed a trailer for a Fable game where you can fight Richard Ayoade as a giant. Well, I can't say that I was expecting that to happen. Next you'll be telling me that you brought back Keanu Reeves. Speaking of bringing things back, hey, isn't that Avowed? It's been a couple of years since we've heard anything about this one. This is meant to be Obsidian's take on a first-person fantasy RPG, with many comparisons naturally being made between it and Skyrim. It has many vast open landscapes to explore, various plague-riddled creatures to encounter, and a fast-paced combat system that combines short-range, long-range, and magic-based attacks. Not much yet is known about the overarching plot, but considering that Obsidian has a reputation for great storytelling in their games, I reckon we can be optimistically hopeful with this one. This is your captain speaking. We would like to announce the latest installment in the Microsoft Flight Simulator series. This version will feature a career mode style mission system that will include various flight-based job roles, including aerial firefighting, search and rescue missions, cargo transportations, agricultural aviation, VIP charter services, scientific research, and many, many more. This service is scheduled for 2024, but in the meantime we will be providing players from the previous installment with the addition of the ornithopter from the Dune films, which is scheduled to make its arrival in November. Thank you for your time and have a nice flight. Path of the Goddess is a new horror-themed action title announced by Capcom. The trailer shows off a masked samurai warrior travelling through a traditional Japanese setting as he battles against a myriad of evil-only spirits. There's an incredible blend of flashy, fast-paced action, an unsettling demonic presence, and kaleidoscopic-like visuals. Though some fans have been quick to point out comparisons between this game and one of Capcom's other series, Onimusha, which hasn't seen a proper new entry since 2006's Dawn of Dreams. Whether this is a continuation of that series, a spiritual successor, or something completely unrelated is yet to be known. Still looks pretty interesting. If you thought Starfield was an ambitious game, you're right, but this might come a close second. 33 Immortals is a top-down roguelike action game from the creators of Spiritfarer, where you'll join a team of rebellious souls battling hordes of monsters and massive bosses in an act of defiance against a vengeful god. And get this is a game that can support up to 33 players at a time. 33 players? I don't even think I know that many people in real life. Still, this has an amazing visual art style and the gameplay looks terrifically chaotic. So I guess I better start calling up people on my friends list. There was of course a showing from the guys behind the Forza franchise, and a brief look at the next installment in their Forza Motorsport series. I find it very difficult talking about these games because I'm not that big on sim races, so how can I say anything better than these still look like the most polished and slick looking games out there? Really, I'm only bringing this up because they managed to get not one but two actual cars on stage with them, showing up both SGF and FGS. Now that's how you do it. The rest of the lineup includes such titles as Persona 3 Reloaded, a remake of the original PS2 title from 2007, Gisant, a game about climbing impossibly high cliff faces, Payday 3, the long-awaited sequel to the smash hit Payday 2 released 10 years ago, Sea of Thieves getting a free expansion based on the Legend of Monkey Island series, Overwatch 2 reportedly getting a bunch of stuff including that long-promised story mode, a trailer for Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, and I love a good old hide the privates behind the objects in the foreground gag, and Clockwork Revolution, which the way my mind works makes me think that this was some bizarre reboot of the Sega Saturn title Clockwork Knight. Anyone remember that one? Nah, me neither. Alright, yes, they did actually bring back Keanu Reeves this year. The magnanimous, breathtaking King of Our Hearts returns to talk about the expansion of Cyberpunk 2077 entitled Phantom Liberty. Not only does Keanu return as the charismatic mercenary Johnny Silverhand, but apparently Idris Elba is coming along for the ride as well. Even though there wasn't an audience there to bask in his glory, Keanu is still such a charming and likable person with a genuine enthusiasm that effortlessly wins you over. Even with this awkward ending where he just walks off the screen before the fades to black, you can't help but love him. Where's he even going? And how can I follow him? I don't know guys, I wanna love Xbox's showcase, but I'm just not really feeling it. Maybe there weren't enough games that grabbed my attention this year, or maybe there were just too many CGI trailers and not enough actual gameplay. Yes, I know there's the extended showcase and the Starfield Direct, but all the other shows felt like they flowed so effortlessly, and this one still has too much of a corporate twinge to it. I mean, come on, their last announcement before the Starfield show was that their Series S machine was now available in black. Maybe everything would have felt a lot better if they were on an actual stage in front of an audience. Or maybe I felt like they peaked too early when they brought the IT crowd guy out.
This is awkward.
Yeah.
Alright Nintendo, take us home. I trust you won't do anything too bizarre. Oh, who am I kidding? You're Nintendo, of course you will. You're a bunch of mad lads. Well, let's at least start with something tame. And new. Penny's Big Breakout is a 3D platformer from the team behind Sonic Mania. It's about a girl named Penny who accidentally makes an enemy of the Emperor Eddie, and must use her magical yo-yo to escape his army of penguins. I did say that we were signing off tame, right? Along with having bright, colourful visuals and expansive levels to explore, the yo-yo mechanics look fun and interesting, and are implemented into the gameplay really well. 3D platformers seem to be making a comeback these last few years, and it's great to shine a spotlight on one of the new kids on the block. For you Persona fans out there, Persona 5 Tactica is a tactical RPG that sees the Phantom Thieves transported to a new mysterious world and thrown right into the middle of a turbulent revolution. The traditional turn-based gameplay is replaced by a grid-based tactical combat system, where careful placement and use of your squad mates can change the flow of battle. Combine personas together to create stronger ones, then use them to take down your enemies and finish them off with an all-powerful triple threat attack. Coming out just in time for Christmas too. There's a stocking filler. Jumping over to the world of Pokemon, we got news about the DLC for Scarlet and Violet entitled The Hidden Treasure of Area Zero. Split into two separate parts, the Teal Mask will have players travel to the land of Kitakami, where an exciting festival is taking place. Then the Indigo Disc will see them whisked off to Blueberry Academy, a futuristic school of learning situated in the middle of the ocean. Expect to find interesting new landscapes, new and returning Pokemon, mysterious legendaries, and a whole new world of secrets to uncover. And if you're not interested in that, they're doing a new Detective Pikachu game. No Ryan Reynolds this time though. The Pikmin series returns in full force as Pikmin 4 is on the way. Once again you'll explore this strange, unknown planet, and use your Pikmin friends to solve puzzles, defeat enemies, and gather familiar looking treasures on your journey to rescue series protagonist Captain Olimar, and the rescue team that was sent out to rescue him. New additions to the series include Ochi, your pet dog, who can smash brickable objects and help carry Pikmin over deep waters. You'll also build a base camp where you can upgrade your gear and have Ochi learn new skills. Participate in Dandori battles where you must collect more items than your opponent, and for the first time ever, you can head out for night expeditions, where the creatures are far more ferocious and menacing, and you'll need to rely on the new Glow Pikmin to help you out. There's already a demo available if you want to give it a shot, but if you still can't wait for more Pikmin mayhem, the first two games are available in the eShop right now.
Guess what? I got a fever, and the only prescription is more
Pikmin. While it looks like the remake of Snake Eater won't be coming to Nintendo, the Metal Gear Solid Master Collection Volume 1 will see a Switch release. Along with the PS1 version of Metal Gear Solid and the HD versions of MGS2 and MGS3, the collection will also include the classic Metal Gear and Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake, the NES version of Metal Gear and its standalone sequel, Snake's Revenge, the 2 digital graphic novels for MGS's 1 and 2, screenplay and master books filled with information about the story and characters, strategy guides, and a digital soundtrack. I know I probably have like half a dozen versions of these games already, but the idea of playing the original PlayStation 1 version of Metal Gear Solid on my Switch is too tempting an offer. Before we get to the big Mario news, here's a quick rundown of some of the other things on the show. There was Myth Force, a multiplayer action fantasy game that looks to recapture the nostalgia of Saturday morning cartoons. The latest in the Dragon Quest monster series, The Dark Prince. Star Ocean The Second Story R, a remake of the classic PS1 RPG. Switch ports for the Batman Arkham Trilogy and Gloomhaven. Side note, I really like this game. And amiibo figures for Zelda and Ganondorf from Tears of the Kingdom are on their way too. Great, as if this game wasn't addicting enough. So it seems like Mario was the big star for this direct, and boy did he have a lot to share. His first big surprise came in the form of a remake of Super Mario RPG, the very first role-playing game he ever starred in. While the look and feel of the original game is still present, the graphics and music have begun a massive overhaul. It may take a bit of time to get used to the chibi versions of these characters, but at least we know why the game hasn't come out on the Switch Online service. They had bigger plans for it. And bigger plans still, as not only are they planning on bringing Luigi's Mansion 2 from the 3DS to the Switch, but Princess Peach is getting her own solo game for the first time since 2006. There was also some news regarding the DLC for Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope, but the weirdest reveal came at the end of the stream with the announcement of Super Mario Bros. Wonder. It starts off deceptively simple as a traditional side-scrolling Mario game, with an interesting visual art style, a new variety of enemies, and a bunch of talking flowers. But as soon as Mario touches the Wonder Flower, things start to get super weird. Mario, I think you might have gotten a different batch of mushrooms this time. Up to 4 players can choose to play as Mario, Luigi, Peach, Yellow Toad, and for the first time in the main title, Daisy. With lots of brand new worlds to explore, a ton of crazy power-ups, and all sorts of wild chaotic mayhem, it's a delight to see a fresh new spin on an old formula. Also, Mario's an elephant now. He just picks up an apple weird shaped thing and he suddenly becomes an elephant. Like, not even just wearing the suit of an elephant, he is the elephant. When did this game become Super Babar Bros? I mean, what can you say about Nintendo? They always seem to deliver a good product. Sure, a lot of it revolved around a bunch of ports and remakes, but then again, it was all really good stuff, and the rest of the games they have on the show look super interesting. Plus, I love the brief interactions we get from our 2 hosts. It is a little bit staged, but there's something quite charming about 2 Japanese businessmen having a little bit of goofy fun. Perhaps the only major downside was that there was no news on Metroid Prime 4 this time, or even a brief mention of it. Though that's probably because they didn't have like a remake of that pinball game from the DS that they could just shadow drop on us yesterday. Don't think that they wouldn't. And with that, the first ever Game June, or whatever I decide to call it next year, is over. There were highs, there were lows, there was good stuff, there was bad stuff, there were things that made you think, there were things that made you feel, and then there were things that you didn't think you would feel. I began this video by lamenting on how E3 is probably not coming back, at least for the foreseeable future. And while in some ways that is a great shame, it also feels like an inevitability. With the rise of social media and video sharing platforms, more and more companies began to realize that by creating their own online showcases, they could reach a much wider audience at a greatly reduced cost. Slowly but surely, more and more companies began pulling out of E3 to start their own directs, or state of plays, or whatever the hell kind of madness Devolver Digital likes to do. It seems like the writing was already on the wall for E3, and we can only assume that the insanity of the last couple of years only helped to expedite this eventuality. But while E3 as a brand name may no longer be around, I am at least happy that live presentations are seemingly making a comeback. Summer Game Fest was one of my favourite shows from this year, and that is largely down to how the performers on stage were able to connect with a live audience. There's a reason why Keanu talking to a camera on a soundstage in 2023 doesn't have as much oomph as it did when he spoke directly to everyone in 2019. The Nicolas Cage interview could easily have been done via webcam, but his words would have had less impact had he not been there to feel the energy from the crowd. So yeah, while E3 may no longer be around anymore, there is a comfort knowing that some of its original spirit does live on. And while not every company has to return to hosting in stuffy auditoriums, especially if they manage to find a method that works for them, Hopefully there are still people like Jeff Keighley out there who remember what it was that made E3 such a big deal in the first place. Boy, this feels like a really sobering way to end the video. Look, elephant!